Discord, we all know the platform. I mean, this platform here is one of the most popular messaging apps on the planet right now. And it's super duper amazing because you can find some very crazy stuff on it, and it's actually pretty simple. So today I'm gonna tell you the story of Bugsworld, and we are going to review its iceberg. So the way I found the server went a little something like this. So me and my friends were typing on the Discord chat. So then one of us started doing some like this, and basically when you type a Discord URL, you can find some funny to type, like this for example. And as soon as you type that, Discord tries to find Discord servers, and we were just typing up random stuff like this. And most of the time you don't get stuff, but sometimes you can get Discord servers. And what ended up happening, and let's say let's type Chris here. I'm typing random names right now to show you about how this went. And the way it happened is that I typed Andrew, and a server like this popped up, and it said Bugsworld. And the server looked a little bit like this. Now, my curiosity was hyped because that's my name, alright? That was right here, my name. And I was like, you know what? Let's just join the server. And what happened next is absolutely crazy. So, let's now move on to the iceberg of this, which we're gonna discuss now, and you will actually see why the server is absolutely crazy. Tier 1, up in the skies. Starting off with Bugsworld. Now, Bugsworld is the server name, as we mentioned. So, what is Bugsworld about? Well, the server used to be an Anarchy server where you could, in theory, do anything you wanted. So, when I first joined the server seemed quite dead because not many people were actively talking in it. So, my first messages on the server looked a bit something like this. Yeah, this is not my proudest moment, but basically I joined the server and I thought that it would have been funny to just spam at everyone pings on the server, and it worked. I mean, I got a few people's attention and then I immediately left. And then I joined back and did the same thing because, you know, like, come on. And after that I realized that the server quite literally didn't care, and then at that point I literally realized that this server is Anarchy and the people don't care and I actually find this type of stuff annoying. So I basically just stopped doing that, and we basically became like, I became the server and started just actively chatting in there, but it wasn't anything like crazy. You were just talking normally, right? It was basically like a regular Discord server, but there was no moderation, so in theory you could say anything you wanted, but like in practice it was pretty normal. Next up, we have Andrew server. Now, this tier is pretty self-explanatory. Now, we used to call the server Andrew server because of its profound URL. I mean, its URL used to be discord.gg/Andrew. Now, since that was Andrew, right, and I was the first one to join the server because, you know, my name is Andrew, we were like, hey, let's just call the server the Andrew server because it made more sense. And I mean, its logo was also Andrew, like an A, so we called it Andrew server. So, the next one is the Nword. Now, let's talk about this. So basically, when people would join the server, when raiders would join the server, and they were unaware that the server was Anarchy and saw that there were no rules, they would spam the N-word. And honestly, that was probably the most annoying part about the server, because most of the time you'd be having a normal conversation and then some random dude with their family, basically, because they were all just, they were not one person, they were like multiple people joining the server, and they just spam the N-word with the at everyone pings. Now, I had my DMs blocked, as in like my pings blocked on the server, so the pings didn't bother me, but the N-word was really annoying because they would spam it so much that like you basically couldn't like talk for like a day because they would get bored and then move on and think like they've ruined the server when all they did is just be annoying for a day, and then nobody would care. So they got like a 3-second fame from us, and then they got completely forgotten. Like, I don't remember their names at all. They were so like, they just were annoying most of the time. And I mean, if you spam the N-word, I mean, like, come on, like the N-word, like, come on. So yeah, that's about it for this tier. Okay, so moving on, we have constant at everyone pings. Now, the server would be almost every day filled with at everyone pings from casual members of the server or raiders, as I mentioned before. And the at everyone pings is a bit more mild than the N-word, and like, unlike the N-word, this was basically used every day by like average people on the server, because this isn't anything bad, so we didn't worry about anything. So it was just a bit funny to mess around with the at everyone thing, because most of the time, if you're on a massive server, you most likely know this. If you spam at everyone, the moderators are just gonna come after you because, you know. But this server had this advantage where you could spam at everyone, like nobody would care. So yeah, it was pretty fun. Not gonna lie, this was some I had fun of. So yeah, let's now move on. Okay, now we have talked about tier 1 of this iceberg. Now let's move on to the second tier of this iceberg. Let's say we are going deeper, if you will. So to start off with this tier, we have spamming invites. Now, spamming invites refers to the fact that inside the server, we would spam the invite to the server, discord.gg/Andrew. And basically, what we would do is basically say, hey, spread this link everywhere. And that's kind of what we did, and we basically spammed the link everywhere. And as in spammed, I mean we typed it in promotion channels like once, but technically we posted it many times into many Discord servers to get the server more attention. And it kind of worked, because some people joined the server and some were flabbergasted and then immediately left because the server was going. There was this one dude that joined the server during a fucking raid attack, and they joined up, and then like they just, the first thing that they saw was like at everyone, at everyone, at everyone, at everyone, and then they just left immediately. It was the funniest shit ever to just watch. But yeah, anyway, let's move on. So, in the server, when a raider would come in and raid, we would get a bunch of death threats as well. As we know, the server is Anarchy, and with that, we have a bunch of death threats, because basically, they would join, and as well as the casual N-word, sometimes they would say, KYS, I believe, which stands for kill yourself. And they're just spamming like that, and we would not care. We would fight back like with all we could. Basically call them pathetic losers. Like, why would they join the server just to do death threats? And I mean, that's kind of true. Like, why would you join a Discord server to do death threats? Alright, I get if you're a raider and you find it funny, but like, on an Anarchy server, you ain't doing crap. That is one thing. If it's a regular server, yes, you could cause some damage, but on an Anarchy server, bro, you're not causing damage, you're just adding more fuel to the fire. Like, this is why, like, death threats were just like the funniest shit, as well as like with the at everyone ping, because when people would do them, like, we would just tell them, why are you doing this? Like, there is no point, you're on a freaking Anarchy server, like, you're not doing crap. And then they just like did that, and we're like, okay, yeah, KYS, and then they just left the server, and it was just like, and we were like, okay. Like, that was literally how the server operated, like, very much so. And now we have reached complete anarchy. Now, complete anarchy, and why is this on this tier if we have been talking about anarchy for very much the time of this video? So, complete anarchy is on the server, is on this tier, I mean, because it's quite hard to grasp. So, basically, on a regular Discord server, you could send a lot of things, but you can't really send everything, right? on an Anarchy server, there are basically no rules, so you could talk about any topic, post any sort of meme you want, and people could laugh about it, they could complain about it, they could do anything, but it doesn't matter because that meme or thing you talked about is staying there, and nobody can do anything about that. They could like oppose it, I guess, but it's not really gonna do anything because it's gonna be on the server. So on the server, you could do basically anything you want and have fun in your own way, which in a lot of cases it can be good, but in other cases it very much can be bad. So yeah, now let's move on. And with that being wrapped up, now let's move on to tier 3. Now, tier 3 is going to be where we get a bit deeper into the server. So, to begin up with tier 3, we have activists joining. Now, what are activists exactly? So basically, when we were on the server, we would have a different type of raid, basically, where instead of them trying to cause harm to the server, they would try to make us feel bad about the server. So basically, what they would do is they would join and be like, are you really proud of yourself on being a part of this whole anarchistic thing and like having no rules and stuff and like just doing whatever you want? Like, are you really happy with yourself? Is this really what you wanted in life? This type of like insulting you, right? To make you feel and reconsider your choices of being on the server. And basically, this type of thing wasn't very common, and in my time on the server, it happened only like twice. However, it's still something I would like to mention because these raids like stuck out to me because unlike the other ones, these can be like remembered, right? Although they would have had like some sort of point if they didn't tell us to kill ourselves, because they also did that. They basically raids is kind of like they have different denominations, and this is they basically like tried to make us feel bad, but then told us to kill ourselves. So like I was gonna say like maybe they could get some credit, but like they told us to kill ourselves. That's a bit harsh. A bit. So yeah, as you can tell, these activists deserved some honorable mention in here. So yeah, let's move on. So moving on, we have ourselves NSFW gifs. Now, NSFW gifs here. So what NSFW gifs am I talking about? Well, I'm just gonna let this image slide. So I'm not gonna explain what this image here has. And basically, people will just spam gifs like this randomly, for no real good reason, mainly because, you know, it's an anarchy server, and in anarchy server, you can do whatever you want. I mean, it's pretty obvious, guys, it's an anarchy server. How many times do I have to say this? It's an anarchy server. Everything can happen, and stuff like this are pretty common. So, yeah, let's move on to... Now it's time for the most interesting entry yet, Buggy. Now, what is Buggy? Or should I say, who is Buggy? Well, you see, Buggy is the original server owner, and he is actually the most mysterious person on the server. You see, when everybody first joined the server was owned by this random dude called Buggy. Now, this dude had boosted the server mysteriously 30 times, because at the time, Discord, in order to get to level 3 in boosts, you needed 30 boosts instead of 14. And this dude had boosted the server 30 times and hadn't sent almost a single thing, and he was offline for most of the server's history. Now, what happens, right, is if you look at the server's like message log, the first messages you'll find were a broad lines of this. Now, the server was practically not archived, so a lot of this I have to recreate from memory. So this is basically what I remember. So Buggy just entered, right, the server, and there were like another dude on the server, and Buggy was like, okay, enter the voice chat, and then like Buggy was like setting up his mic, and like he was saying something about headphones, and then that was that, right? And then approximately like a day later, a random dude appeared on the server, just forgot their name, and just said the N-word. And then the server from that point was born as an Anarchy server, and we do not know anything about this guy. And we have no clue how this has happened and who Buggy is, apart from his profile picture, which we can assume to be him, but it's most likely not him. So we have no further information on who this person is, why they created the server, and like what was the point of this? Like no one has a clue on who Buggy is. Like we've tried to DM him, nothing. He's just not there. He's non-existent, and nobody knows why. So yeah, that was probably the most interesting entry. Yeah, now let's move on. And with Buggy being covered, we have finished with tier 3 of this iceberg. Now let's move on down at here and let's explore tier 4, which is the shortest one, matching with the next tier that we will cover. So to begin off with this tier, we have a massive doxing scandal that happened on the server while I was there. So basically, one of my friends, Tobias, or known as Chris Cross Cross Cruise, ended up, I think, getting doxed on the server by somebody where they just revealed basically their whole personal information. And from what I know, that information was actually true. So they doxed a few peoples there, and like I didn't click on the link that they had sent that apparently gets your personal information, but Tobias I think did, and he got his information doxed and leaked. So yeah, that was an interesting time on the server for sure. Now, on the next entry, we have making friends. Now, what I mean by making friends is that when you're on an Anarchy server, you would most likely expect to be a bit hostile to some people, but sometimes you can be a bit friendly and end up making some long-lasting relationships. Sorry, I meant friendships. Now, did I make any friends on the server? Yes, I did. And basically, I will not get into the person that I became friends with because they are on the next entry that we will talk about, and I'll explain why. So basically, I made only one friend, like long last friend, but while I was on the server, I did talk with like some specific people that were pretty fun to talk to. That's one thing. So yeah, that's about it for tier 4 of the iceberg. Now let's move on to tier 5. And with tier 4 being covered, now it's time to move even deeper into the iceberg. We are slowly reaching the end of this. We are like on the last 3 tiers here. So the stuff we will talk about is going to be extremely obscure, or stuff that happened for a very short amount of time that it would be very difficult to track down, or mysteries and stuff. So this is gonna be a bit interesting, right? So let's get immediately into it. So now for our first entry into this tier, we have BugE. Now, who's BugE? Well, BugE is that friend I was talking about that I made. However, for personal reasons of his, he wishes to remain anonymous on this. So, why is BugE on this iceberg? Well, you see, BugE was probably the most active member on the server. He had been active on the server since like the very beginning, from what I can tell. Not like the very beginning where Buggy was active and stuff, but from like a general beginning of the server where like the server was like still new and stuff, and he was a part of it almost until the very end, until the collapse of the server, which we will get into. And the reason why I put him here is because he was probably, as I said, the most active member of the server, and like if you join the server, he would be a very characteristic member of the server. So that's about it for this entry. Let's now check out what's next. So lastly on the entry, we have active voice chat. Now, occasionally on the server, there would be small instances in time where the voice chat on the server would become active. So basically, the server didn't only have a general channel, because it only had two channels. It only had general channel for text and a general channel for voice chat. Now, occasionally in the server's history, the channel would be actually active, and one time it actually ended up getting 5 members involved. So it was a great and a fun thing to do on the server. So yeah, voice chatting with people that you've probably never talked to before is a pretty interesting topic, because we most of the time behaved. One time that the voice chat was active was like an activist raid on the server, and they just joined the server and just were like, yeah, are you proud of this? Are you proud of this? This is why like those activists like were on this iceberg, because I vividly remember that moment. And yeah, so yeah, let's now move on to the next part. Here we go. We are now getting into the deepest corners of Bugsworld. Right here, right now. We are on the almost final tier. So, are you ready to see what this tier involves around? To kick off with this entry, we have infinite boost glitch. Now, I'm not gonna pretend like this is a theory anymore, because it has basically been confirmed that this is like the reality. So basically, as we've talked about on the server has a custom URL, obviously, because its URL is discord.gg/Andrew, right? And the way that you get that URL is by 30 boosts. Now, we have established that Buggy is the owner of the server, and he has been the one to basically boost the server, and we know nothing about the person. But what we basically know is the fact that the server got boosted by an infinite boost glitch. Basically, you could boost your server 30 times, no payment, and that glitch existed on Discord, and anyone who had done it, unless they were terminated, still could keep the boost glitch on their profile and continuously boost the server forever. Now, this isn't confirmed by Buggy or anything, because we can't get in contact with him, but that's literally the only way you could go about this, because otherwise Buggy would have to spend approximately 114 like euros on a server he's not even active in. So that wouldn't really work out that much, and unless Buggy is like an ultimate rich man that doesn't care about the server, which I highly doubt, it is most likely an infinite boost glitch, as especially at that time that glitch was relevant. Now it has been patched, sadly, but yeah, it seems to be that that's how Buggy ended up getting the server to how it was back in the day. So our next entry on this tier here is Shepherd joining the server. Now, this one requires a bit of context to explain properly. So, who's Shepherd? So, Shepherd was a Russian dude that joined the Advanced Education with Victor Strobovsky Discord server, which is an obscure video game which is basically Baldi's Basics fan game. At the time, it was basically Baldi's Basics fan game. And this dude joined on the Advanced Education server, and started, this happened on Valentine's Day. I think that was like 2021, I believe. Yeah, it was February 14th, 2021. And he just started spamming a bunch of, let's say penises. Now, he basically started spamming things like this, as you can see in the image here. And basically, at some point, we found out that this was actually just one of our friends just trolling the server, absolutely like raiding and just trolling it. But basically, what ended up happening is that we ended, like, before we figured out it was our friend, we thought like it was a server person, and basically we became friends with him, right? We ended up getting him to become like a friend of us, and at some point, right, I DM'd him to join Bugsworld, and he did, although it was much more sad and less aggressive than this. Of course, he just said, he just spammed a bit of it to everyone, and then left and was like, hey man, I don't want to do this anymore, and I was like, okay, that's fine. And just like that, Shepherd, a dude that became infamous in the Advanced Education 7 for his brutality in the Valentine's Day, actually ended up being extremely chill and not that and being like against the raiding of Bugsworld basically. So that's about it for Shepard joining the server. You have no idea how long it took me to find that image, but anyway. And lastly, on this tier, we have Buggy's weird message record. Now, as we have already discussed here, Buggy, when he first joined the server, or sorry, when he first made the server, had a very weird message record, and we can't really seem to figure out what was going on. Well, I don't know if I'm like overly looking into this, and if this is just not that deep, but like the dude said something about voice chatting with another person that was already on the server, that like joined after, and they were talking, right? And only Buggy had messages. The other person didn't send a single message, and basically Buggy was like saying, "I need to set up my mic and getting my headphones and stuff," and then he joined the voice chat from what I suppose, because there is no track record of what happened here. And after that, like after a day, a random user joined and just said the Nword, and then like the server was born. And it's very mysterious on how Buggy, like what is he like? Like there is a theory right now that says that he basically used a boost like glitch that to create the server so that he can like post stuff over 8 megabytes, as back then the limit to Discord was 8 megabytes and now it's 25, and he wanted to post stuff that were apparently more than 8 megabytes, I guess. So that theory basically states that, but I do not know how to trust this because he hasn't sent a single message. So either Buggy is actually just among us the whole time and just like is just a casual member of the server posting images and stuff that he would like to get, which there was a dude that was posting some maps, but I doubt that is actually Buggy, and or actually there's just no explanation. I guess we'll never know. And now that we're done with this tier, let's move on to the final tier. This tier consists of stuff that are known by like 3 to like 10 people. This stuff is very obscure for an already obscure topic, so let's get into this. Starting off with the tier, we have Buggy Family. Now, if you think this is about the family of Buggy, you would be completely wrong, because this is just a joke me and my friends did one day, and we basically created this family of Buggy. So one of them was Buggy, then I was Buggy's brother, and then my other friend was Buggy's grandfather. And we even had a cool voice chat in between this here, and we honestly had a blast. And this is just a funny thing that was just a once in a server time experience. So now let's move on to the next topics, which will be a bit darker for this server. Next up, we have the Spambot. Now, this is a bit of a darker topic, and you might be wondering, what is that static over there? Well, you see, if I did name what this Spambot was, this video would be taken down. So all I'm gonna say, right, I'm not even gonna say it, I'm gonna just show you how you can get the word. So take my friend's name, Nolly, and then replace the N with an L. So this Spambot would spam these things if infinitely to the server. So what happened is, at the time I wasn't on the server because I left it, and one day I decided to come back to the server to see how it was doing, and I joined to be greeted by this soulless boy spamming, and I tried to find when this whole thing started, but I couldn't because this bot was so far down that it was spamming. So I just left the server immediately, and then after that, about like 3 months later, I suppose, I came back to server to see if that Spambot was gone, which I supposed it would be because, you know, it's been 3 months. I opened the server and the Spambot was still there, and I was absolutely horrified because I realized that that was the end of Bugsworld. Andrew was responsible. You see, I was responsible. I ended the server. As soon as I joined the server in the span of the 3 months that I was gone, and I saw that the bot was still spamming, I reported it to Discord, not knowing what reporting a user does. I was expecting the bot and all of its messages to be deleted so the server can continue to thrive, but no, Discord did not take kindly to this bot, and in response, it deleted the whole server. Bugsworld was gone, and with it, a history of a server that will not be forgotten amongst its generals and its veterans. And that about wraps up the video and the iceberg itself. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, please leave a like and comment below if you would like to see more videos in this style. I make horror game content, horror game gameplay content most of the time. I could play other games too, and I make videos like this too. So if you are interested in these types of videos, make sure to subscribe to get notified when I upload the next video. Until then, see you next time. Bye bye.